As we begin this evening, we queer up breaking news. DeSantis announces his presidency just a week before Pride Month.
They call it faith because in the face of darkness, you can see that brighter future. A faith that our best days lay ahead of us. But is it worth the fight? Do I have the courage? Is it worth the sacrifice? America has been worth it every single time.
Last week, Queer News Tonight reported on speculation that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis would announce his presidency in tandem with Pride Month to highlight his successful attacks on transgender children, controversial books in schools, and health care for LGBTQ+ individuals as part of his, quote, war on woke, end quote. This evening at 6 p.m. in a Twitter Spaces broadcast interview with Elon Musk, the suspected presidential hopeful confirmed it. The announcement comes during an ongoing legal feud with the Walt Disney Company, as well as personal conflicts with former President Donald Trump. Queer News Tonight will continue to follow this news as it develops. Well, as we predicted, he was going to be hateful on June Pride Month, and he launches it today. One of the things that I think is the most interesting is, first, he is so uncomfortable with human beings. This commercial has no words, so you're watching him when he is best. Actions without hearing him say it.
So when he's silent, he's at his best.
He's at his best when he's silent. And I also think it's interesting in the Twitter Spaces with Elon Musk of only hearing audio from him, as opposed to doing something where people can ask questions. Donald Trump has viciously called him out today and talking about how good Donald Trump was in Twitter, how bad DeSantis is going to be in Twitter. Momentous day. It either is the start of arguably the worst
time of our lives. Say it.
That's absolutely.
Oh my God.
It's historic. Whatever's going to happen next is historic.
He's a parody of the American politician. This thing, the mega American flag standing up there that dwarfs him, but he's standing up for the little guy. The only thing that was funnier was that, remember that Top Gun parody commercial that he created last year for the governor's race?
Awful.
That was terrible. The good news, I really believe, is Florida won't be done with him in a year, but I think America will be done with him in a year. I don't think he gets out of the primaries.
His best angle in that commercial is the one I wish that we always saw, would just be him walking away.
Oh, I thought you were going to say his butt. I was like, hi, Mark, Dios mío.
That's where you were
I
going.
have some standards.
Well, look, we all knew this day was coming, and here we are, right? And it sucks. And, I'm really curious to see how this is going to go, because the rumors are that DeSantis is not good with people, just like you said, Al, that he doesn't like kissing the babies and shaking the hands and all that. And, if you give Donald Trump a little bit of attention, he's all about it, right? And that's the difference between both of them. Yeah. So I'm interested in seeing how this is going to go.
I saw him, I think it was over the weekend, I think he was in Iowa. It could have been New Hampshire.
No, it was in New Hampshire.
It was in New Hampshire.
Exactly the moment.
You know what you're talking about?
He was grilling something, and he had on the apron. It's retail politics in both those states. And he looked so hopelessly uncomfortable. Like, I wanted to smile, and
Somebody
I also wanted to hug him.
introduced himself and told him something, and he said, okay. That was his reply to the personal statement that the New Hampshire voter made to him. Okay.
Well, as the cockeyed optimist here, I'm trying to put a positive angle to everything that I'm seeing now, or else I'm just going to freaking melt. So I hope that today is the start of the tearing apart of Ron DeSantis by Donald Trump, and that the two of them are going to cannibalize each other. That's what I'm hoping for.
Eat each other. And to that moment of the observation you just made, one final thought. You were saying that that's the best part of what we watched in that commercial. The best commercial that I ever saw, it was playing in my head as we watch him do that walkout, is him sitting reading to his children. Remember when he was reading?
The blocks.
He's reading from Donald Trump's book. He makes the point of how great, I love this. Oh, is that going to come back to haunt you? Well, Good evening and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ+ daily evening news show. We're broadcasting live and then available on demand. And we're available on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple Television, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, YouTube, and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It's Wednesday, May 24, 2023, and we are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson, and this evening we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ+ community from South Florida, America, and across our planet.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ+ evening news show. Whatever happens unique in LGBTQ+ news, you will see it and hear it.
Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same models of PBS and NPR, but designed for our LGBTQ+ community. Our mission? To support the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ+ community, which means informing and educating people on the key issues of our Black community, Latino, lesbian, trans, student youth, seniors, HIV/AIDS healthcare, business, social justice, and faith. Help us support our communities.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ+ media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
Our magazine is celebrating 38 years of the LGBTQ+ experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ+ and broader community.
Well, let's begin by welcoming anchor Fay What. She is a radio and television personality and has a popular blog and YouTube channel aiming to unite the L and the G together. She's a hostess and MC for many South Florida events, an animal advocate, and owner of Fay's Fur Family. Also, make sure you catch the Fay What Show, the first LGBTQ+ morning show, Mondays at 9 a.m. Eastern, and it's online or your smart television. And Fay was the winner of the 2022 SFGN Best Local Television Personality. Welcome, Fay.
Hi, boys. I'm so happy to be with each and every, well, no, not all of you. I'm happy to be here. Oh, my goodness. So I thought I only had Trini on one show. We'll be talking about my contract after this, Al. All right, let's keep this going by welcoming John Hayden. He's a journalist for 28 years, and he now works for several outlets, including South Florida Gay News, as senior reporter and community editor, covering politics, entertainment, and local events directly impacting the LGBTQ+ community. John's interviewed everyone, from presidents to Oscar winners. He spent this last weekend welcoming his new roommate, Figaro, or Fig, or Figgy for short. Welcome, John. You got a new pet. I'm so proud of you.
I did, and I'm so happy. I've been basically cloistered at home, one, because I have no voice, and two, because I've just been kind of getting to know little Figgy, and I have you to thank for it. You knew the person who needed to, who unfortunately had to surrender their pet due to their health issues. And so Faye brought Figgy to my house on Saturday evening, and we're getting to know each other. Oh my gosh, I just love him.
He looks like you already. He looks like you already. How is that possible? You had him 3 days.
Wait, can we see that side by side one more time? You know, as that was happening,
big
I
difference.
was thinking, oh, thank goodness for unconditional love. And I'm talking about John.
Fig has more hair than you.
Oh, Tyson Wallace had more hair than me. That's a dated reference. But thank you, though. I love you, Figgy. I love you, Faye. Next, let's welcome anchor TriniDaddy. He is a concert musician, director, and artist in the South Florida area. He currently is a violinist and pianist with the Miami City Ballet and the program director for the Seminole Theater Players at the historic Seminole Theater in Homestead. He is one of the permanent hosts of Happening Out. Welcome, Trini.
Hello, thank you all for letting me be here, and let's negotiate my contract as well. Let's welcome Mark Pettitt. Mark is a pioneering traveler and coordinated the very first gay pride parade ever on the continent of Antarctica. Wow. But don't let that sweet smile fool you. He knows how to take charge and is a former Mr. Sawmill Leather Sir. He and his husband Luke run linksbyluke.com, the chainmail, harness, and pride accessory shop that we all need in our lives. And by day, he's a leadership coach and trainer with the largest leadership development company in the world. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you, Trini. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight. And this evening, we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast. And here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Wednesday, May 24th.
Well, let's queer up South Florida and Florida. The HRC and NAACP join Equality Florida in issuing travel advisories for Florida. The Human Rights Campaign, the HRC, the largest LGBTQ plus rights organization in the U.S., joined the NAACP and other civil rights organizations like Equality Florida on Tuesday, issuing a travel advisory for Florida. HRC warned that newly passed laws and policies may pose risk to minorities, immigrants, and gay travelers. While HRC said that it wasn't calling for a boycott or making a blanket recommendation against visiting Florida, it said it wanted to highlight new laws passed by the Republican-controlled Florida legislature, which are hostile to LGBTQ plus community, restrict abortion access, and allow Floridians to carry concealed weapons without a permit. Last weekend, the NAACP, the nation's oldest civil rights organization, issued its advisory warning, saying that recent laws and policies championed by Governor Ron DeSantis and Florida lawmakers are against African Americans, people of color, and LGBTQ plus individuals. The advisories come as Democrats are ramped up in their criticism of DeSantis ahead of the 2024 presidential run announcement. DeSantis spokespeople reacted to the NAACP travel advisory on Twitter, referring to it as a stunt and just noise. The Florida Immigrant Coalition also released an advisory warning of the risk associated with the relocation of travel to Florida in April.
Piero Mana from Rwanda, he's here legally and is involved with the group issuing the latest travel advisory. He says the state may not be safe for any immigrant.
I'm very concerned that this bill that is promoted by the governor, DeSantis, is going to harm, not only immigrants, but also the rest of the community in general.
That's because if approved, it would be a felony for anyone hiding or transporting an illegal immigrant, and it would require hospitals to report an immigration status.
Well, I think one of the challenges here first, I've mentioned many times, boycotts do not work. They are not a successful mechanism of protest. I was at the mayor's breakfast this week with the mayor of Broward County, Dean Trantellis, the mayor of Fort Lauderdale, the mayor of Oakland Park, and the mayor of Wilton Manors. And all four mayors spoke against this moment of travel advisory, especially in terms of trying to suggest boycott. And all four of them unanimously voiced up that you're harming, first, the people that need you the most, that we actually need more voices in Florida to come to Florida and support the issues that we're watching from radical Republicans and against the governor, and the inverse of the issues that have formed are really true. Visit Lauderdale has said it. Miami-Dade Convention and Visitors Bureau has said it. Disney has said it. Yeah. Disney is at the piercing edge of the fight about what's going on in Florida, and there's almost unanimous opposition to these calls of travel advisory. So if that's true, then you listen to what the DeSantis Republicans are saying. This is a stunt and it's noise. Now, these organizations, including Equality Florida and HRC and the NAACP, have an obligation now to prove why it's not a stunt. Conclusion to this is it does somewhat appear that it is a stunt and it is noise.
But it's working, Al. It's got us talking about it. You're right. boycotts on their face, their goal on their face, boycott, put them out of business, move on. Yes, that's not going to work on just about anything. But we're talking about it. And more importantly, the governor's office is talking about it. They're responding to this. A lot of times they'll go, I don't even know what you're talking about. They're calling this just noise. And you know what? That means that noise is loud enough that it's getting their ear. And going forward, I think this is an important thing.
If that was true, the NAACP would suggest a travel advisory of approximately 15 other states that have adopted similar kinds of what they call woke agenda issues. Approximately 20 other states that have restricted abortion. Approximately 22 other states that in various different ways have attacked and minimalized LGBTQ plus rights in their states. None of these organizations have suggested that in any other state.
Yeah.
That's why the issue of it's just noise is being suggested.
Well, and here's the thing. These organizations are respected. They're huge organizations that really take care of their people. I mean, the Florida Immigrant Coalition, the NAACP, the HRC, right? But here's the thing. We live here and we're left here, okay? I understand the advisory as to moving here, especially if you have LGBTQ plus children. Don't freaking move to Florida, okay? I'm so glad that my stepchildren are grown already for that reason. But we need the tourist dollars. We need for you to come to Florida and shine with us, brightly next to us. So that's the one thing that I really am on the fence for. You know, it must have taken a lot for them to put these travel bans out, right? But I don't think that they were necessary for the traveler. Maybe for someone moving here.
I don't think that's not what they're saying. They're not calling for a boycott. The reason why, and my first thought when I heard about it was that it was a stunt. And I'm like, wow, well, they've never issued, the NAACP issuing a statewide travel advisory. So then as I thought about it more, I realized what they're trying to do is call attention to Ron DeSantis. The reason why it's not in other states is because not other states have governors that are running for president. So I think they're trying to shine a light on, like, to the national stage. If this is what you want in Florida, if you want this to be across the nation, then sure, go ahead and vote for Ron DeSantis. But if, you know, everybody look at what's happening in Florida right now, because this is what your reality will be if he becomes the president. So I'm for it now.
Let me provide a counterpoint of view. If what you just said is true, why not the NAACP and the HRC go after the governor specifically and call out the policies against the governor, the policies of why he is not a good selection of the president of the United States, compare and contrast him to Donald Trump, compare and contrast him to Joe Biden. Why focus on Florida in terms of the travel advisory to Florida if that's what their goal is?
Well, first of all, he just announced. So I think they have to wait for him to announce before they're going to really attack him, and they're going to, probably starting tonight or tomorrow.
To your point, Al, I think that there could be a better call to action here. If they're wanting to really try to motivate people, it's not very motivating to people to say, just stay at home. That's our big advice. That's what we need you to do, is stay at home. It should be a call to action, not a call to inaction.
Yeah, and to the point that you just made, and of course, and it's crystal clear my opinion on where we sit in these issues. I report on it every single day, but the press secretary of Governor DeSantis, who is now running for president of the United States, says this is a stunt and it is noise. And we take that observation at literal fact, and now our organizations of advocacy have an obligation to say, no, this is not a stunt and it is not noise, and therefore now we have a call to action. But so far we don't have that, because to say stay home is not an answer that's going to work here. That's my thought about it.
Well, next we queer up South Florida gay news. Pride Fort Lauderdale takes your money and offers no accountability in return. It's been more than 3 years since Pride Fort Lauderdale has filed a federal tax return. Quirks in the tax code still give them another week to file for 2020. But it seems their persistence in obfuscating their inner workings continues. How the organization is operating, as well as who's in charge, are questions President Mike Martorell is in no hurry to answer. As SFGN and Queer News Tonight have reported, Martorell appears to be the only person running the organization without any executive board to oversee him. SFGN has learned that he has brought on Ernie Yoon to serve as executive director or in some analogous position or role. Drew Segura, a local DJ and entertainer, recently posted on social media that he has joined Pride and will work on their social media and digital presence. The city of Fort Lauderdale and Broward County are key partners in making sure Pride Fort Lauderdale's events happen. In the run-up to Pride of the Americas in February, the city stepped in at the last minute and offered a new location and covered some of the security costs. Visit Lauderdale, the county's tourism arm, traditionally kicks in tens of thousands of dollars. Pride happily took the money and offered little in return. Martorell has promised to show us a profit and loss sheet from the event. He has promised to get us minutes of board meetings posted. He has promised transparency. None of those promises have been fulfilled. The audacity of their opacity seems to know no bounds. Their intentional evasiveness led to a steady stream of departures from the organization and loss of key sponsors just weeks before Pride of the Americas. In an exclusive interview, Fort Lauderdale Mayor Dean Trentalis told me, quote, "What concerns me is that the group has disintegrated," end quote. 501c3 groups don't have a lot of restrictions on them, but Pride's bylaws are supposed to provide guardrails. Those include setting qualifications to serve on the boards, posting minutes, making notice of meetings, requiring 2 signatures on a check. It's possible, though, Martorell and his supporters have changed the bylaws. The fact is, they won't tell us. And legally, they don't have to. But they're taking your money. Being accountable to the community is the least they can do. You can read more of my interview with Mayor Trentalis and get more details in this week's SFGN, online now and on stands tomorrow. You know, I've been reporting on this. I've been following it since November. My first report came out in December, and the things that I continue to learn absolutely astound me. And I've talked with at least a dozen other people who run nonprofits in the same vein, and they say they've literally never seen anything like this before.
Why would someone in kind of a good community standing or a good business or nonprofit understanding come in and take over an organization that is already just falling apart like that?
Who would take it over?
The new leadership that's now come in and take over. Why wouldn't someone say, okay, you know, we need to start from scratch? Yeah, this is.
But they're basically starting from scratch, Mark. They have nobody on the board anymore, according to you. So
the last I heard, and Mike has not answered. We did reach out to Mike for comment on this story. He did not return the calls. And as far as new board members, he's not telling us. Their website is not updating. In all fairness, the guy who came in, redesigned, and updated their website is also one of the people who resigned. So
the Drew person that you mentioned.
No. Someone from before.
Okay.
He redesigned the website like a year ago, and then he's left.
Okay, so if you found out that Ernie Yoon, who has like 15 years experience, is coming in, because I've heard of his work before. If you hear that he's coming in, isn't that a step in the right direction or no?
On its face, yes. But I'm currently talking with people in Las Vegas, and I hope to have more on that. And their endorsements are not that endorsement-y.
It's funny. I sat in a meeting just today where we discussed Pride Fort Lauderdale extensively. I'll just report on a couple of the things. I can't vouch of accuracy, but what I have heard. I have heard a date has been set for February of 2024 for Pride Fort Lauderdale, that it's in a final approval with the city in terms of access. We have to independently verify that that is correct, but I hear that. And we'll see. Pride Fort Lauderdale, I think broadly, John, every step of the way, and South Florida Gay News has reported multiple discrepancy issues since December. And it seems to me that they are largely fact in terms of what has happened. The loss of board, the loss of executive director, the change of the festival and parade. One of the things that I think we can all agree at here at the table is Pride Fort Lauderdale is important for our community. We make a joke that we're the largest LGBT, we're the largest, we're the gayest place on planet Earth. So having Pride Fort Lauderdale is very important to us. One of the things that I said in defense of reporting of everyone in the community, SFGN, Queer News Tonight, and everyone related to it, is there has to be more communication of transparency. And I made it very clear today, and I'm saying it publicly. There cannot be if you speak in any way to question what's going on, you're against the gay community or you're against Pride. That is not true.
That is so not true.
It is not true. What the issue here is the transparency of what is going on. And let's get that water under the bridge, be done with it, and now move on in terms of doing it. That, I think, is one of the things that I hear in this story. For no one to reply to SFGN on this story does not bode well for the organization. Period, flatly, the end. No one else can sell you a bucket of tomatoes and say, you know, it's a bucket of gold. I said today, Mike Martorell, I need you to come to Queer News Tonight. I need you to sit down at Queer News Tonight and tell us what's going on at Pride Fort Lauderdale, what you're going to do next, how it's going to change, how sponsorships are going to be embraced. This new executive director, Ernie Yoon, needs to come with you to Queer News Tonight and sit down with us. And it'll be completely fair in our conversation, because at the end of the day, the entire community supports the conceptual idea that we need a great Pride. We have Stonewall Pride. We're going to be doing it on the stage next month, but in the winter for February, we need a great Fort Lauderdale Pride. And this story is a reflection that you're not doing at least one good job, which is transparency. And when an organization like South Florida Gay News asks you some questions, you have an obligation to answer the questions. And if you're not going to do it, come to Queer News Tonight and let's have a conversation about it so we can be clear and move forward. But you can't move forward if you don't do that.
And if I can just say one thing back to the lead of the story, they're now not communicating with the IRS. The very basic thing they have to do. We're 3 years past operational year of 2020, and they're not doing it. They could lose their status, which essentially would be like a bar losing their liquor license. It would be deadly to them, and we could end up being a joke or not having a Pride Fort Lauderdale as we know it. It could fold. This is a dangerous, dangerous time for Pride Fort Lauderdale.
Next, let's queer up South Florida and Florida. March to take place in Fort Lauderdale to bring national attention to DeSantis' anti-LGBTQ+ policies. We the People, a growing coalition of more than 30 groups fighting for people of color, women, LGBTQ+ communities, Jewish people, social justice, gun control, and more will gather in Fort Lauderdale on Sunday, July 2nd and march together in solidarity against hate-filled legislation sweeping the nation. Iconic labor leader and civil rights activist Dolores Huerta, legendary actress and choreographer Debbie Allen, Parkland survivor and gun control activist David Hogg, trailblazing hip-hop artist Trina, national political and civil rights figure Mark Morial, and leading HIV/AIDS and social justice advocate Michael Weinstein are the march's first ambassadors. As authoritarian lawmakers and legislatures seek to criminalize immigrants, sexuality, gender expression, blackness, homelessness, religious freedom, and the teaching of vital history, this country has never seen such a blatant abuse of power against virtually every group of people at the same time. In response to the hateful legislation spreading across the U.S., We the People coalition, composed of advocates, mobilizers, and community leaders, is fighting for fundamental constitutional rights. People are tired of being told what books they can read, what words they can or can't say, how they can express themselves, and what they can do with their own bodies. The coalition requests people arrive at 9 a.m. on July 2nd in Esplanade Park in Fort Lauderdale. The march begins at 11 a.m. If not able to attend, you can show support by sharing photos, videos, and information with the hashtag WTP March. You know, everybody's always asking us, Al, what can we do? What can we do? This is what you can freaking do. Okay, register today for this. They're going to have incredible speakers. They're going to have clergymen out there as well as part of the speakers. We need something like this. We need to unify and show our strength in numbers. There is nowhere else that you need to be July 2nd than Esplanade Park up here in Fort Lauderdale.
That's the number one issue that I've seen on all the message boards and all the social media. Everybody knows what is going on in Florida with the LGBT community, and they want to know what can we do. And I ask myself the same question every single day. Like, is a comment on a Facebook page, is that going to do anything? Is a donation to HRC, is that going to do something? And I feel like it's really not at this point. So we need to have this march. I'm going to do my best to hashtag this and bring every supporter I know and every ally of a supporter I know to come in and be a part of this.
And yeah, that was just getting ready to echo your comment. Another thing you can do, bring a friend. Don't come alone. Bring a friend who's on the fence or is questioning what they think about DeSantis or Trump or our senators or anything that's going on in the community.
Bring that friend.
A friend. You know, maybe it's your cousin whose dad is the crazy uncle in the family. Bring him. Maybe he can make a little headway afterwards. Things can be done. Marches like this can definitely move the needle. It might not move a lot, but if this march moves it a little, and then the next march moves it a little bit, we can make some change come next November.
Withhold sex from all your partners and tell them you will give them sex if they go to this march on July 2nd.
Let's not get crazy.
I want to give a big shout out to Ebony Crispin for giving me all the information and making sure that we at Queer News Tonight had everything that we need to do this story and help them along the way, because this is so important. Like, this has to be on your calendar right now.
And I think to the HRC, to the NAACP, to all the organizations that we were quoting in the previous story, watch this segment. This is what a call to action looks like. This is what passion looks like.
Very good.
Bringing somebody along.
Yep.
You've got the FayWhat tutorial that just played for you for about 2 minutes. This is what we should be doing.
You know, it's interesting to me, and it won't be, my observation will not be popular in our community. It just won't. Just today, I was tagged in SFGN's story about drag queens and the issue going on with Stonewall. John Story wrote the story, reported it here at Queer News Tonight. It's had a lot of legs. A number of weeks now that the story is, there's, hundreds of comments on it. I have been, in just the last day, tagged in multiple ways in the story, and I commented to a number of people that would tag me, and I would answer their tag in the thread. The story reports what's going on about drag and the initial drag ban. It's not a drag ban. It's drag performance that can't happen, but being in drag at Stonewall Pride is allowed and acceptable. But it was interesting to me in that I'm reading posts that are weeks later of that thread, and people are going, wait, drag queens can't come to a Pride festival. And they have no conceptual understanding about what's going on. And to be honest with you, I thought, when are you going to pull your head out of your ass? Because at the end of the day, our community is not paying attention to what is going on. They just aren't. A very significant amount of our community wants to be in the bar, but they don't want to hear anything about the politics. Well, the politics are going to have direct effect of what goes on in your bar. And we're not making that connection. To the call of action point. One of the things that I think is really genius here, we the people, let's echo it again on July 2nd. You know why it's so great? There should be thousands and thousands and thousands, maybe tens of thousands at this march. And the reason it should happen that way is because finally someone is thinking three-dimensionally of how we're going to stand up against Governor DeSantis, candidate for President of the United States. It is not going to be LGBT. It is not. We are going to participate with women, with religious minorities, with people of color, with immigrants, with young people. David Hogg coming. He is a genius voice for Gen Zers from Parkland and what he talks about in terms of guns. These segment communities come together and make all the difference. And when these segment communities come together, it is the one thing that the people behind Ron DeSantis fear more than anything else, that we will unite. That's what July 2nd, We the People, is all about.
Next, let's queer up business. Target moves pride displays away from entrance in southern stores. Some southern Target stores were forced by the corporation to move LGBTQ plus pride merchandise away from the front of their locations after customer outrage to avoid a, quote, Bud Light controversy. Many Target locations across the country feature massive June Pride Month displays on an annual basis, with items this year ranging from tuck-friendly bathing suits for transgender people to mugs that say gender fluid. Target Insider said that many locations in the South have relocated Pride sections. After the emergency calls from the authorities, the managers and district senior directors were told to push down the Pride sections in stores immediately for employee safety. Target stores were given 36 hours to hide Pride merchandise and move it into a section that's a third of the size. Most rank-and-file employees were left in the dark, with many not knowing the Pride sections would be moved until they noticed it themselves. Fox News Digital has confirmed rural Target stores in South Carolina, Arkansas, and Georgia are among the locations to move the Pride sections. Pride merchandise remains prominently displayed at other locations and on the Target website. Target Pride merchandise includes a variety of LGBTQ plus apparel, such as female-style swimsuits that can be used to tuck male genitalia. What I want to say about this leading is I don't want to miss the main point of this. I have never seen a retail store, a chain like Target, that would actually have an entire Pride merchandise section of their store. I think that is one of the most amazing things. I didn't even know that they had this until I read the story about these very few locations that were putting the Pride merchandise in a different part of the store. So first, hats off to you, Target, for having an entire section for the trans community, for the LGBTQ plus community. So in general, I'm in favor of private business being able to kind of do what they want to do. So if in a few stores it's creating a controversy in the Deep South, then move the location of the Pride merchandise, because you know what? I don't want the pushback. I don't want more of the culture war stoking if it's just in a few places. Now, as far as the police getting involved and telling them what they have to do, that's another story. I don't know about if their safety was really in danger or if that was just them overstepping their jurisdiction with that. But I do want to first and foremost say congratulations, Target, and thank you.
You're so cute that you're so newly gay, right? You just came out yesterday. Target has had a section of gay stuff for freaking years. Welcome to our world, Trini. Anyway, but this,
I don't shop there.
So this year they had made it bigger. It was not just a little section, it was like a whole aisle this time, right? Mm-hmm. And it incorporated a lot of trans stuff, which was the first time that they had done that. A lot of trans inclusive stuff, right? And some of these people, some of these workers were getting threatened. Like, I'm gonna get you after your shift and freaking kill you because you're allowing this merch to be out and my children are seeing it, right? So Target just came out with their last commentary on this whole thing. They say, for more than a decade, Target has offered an assortment of products aimed at celebrating Pride Month. Since introducing this year's collection, we've experienced threats impacting our team members' sense of safety and well-being while at work. Given these volatile circumstances, we are making adjustments to our plan, including removing items that have been at the center of the most significant confrontational behavior, the trans merchandise, okay? Our focus now is on moving forward with our continuing commitment to the LGBTQIA plus community and standing with them as we celebrate Pride Month and throughout the year. You want to stand with us? Don't move the merchandise.
Amen.
That's how you stand with us, Target. You came through and now all of a sudden people are feeling uncomfortable. So now you're going to move our shit to the back of the store? That don't make no kind of sense. I'm sorry. I can only speak for myself, but you're not making me happy. And I've got your damn shirt. And you're going to be moving our, really, does this really offend anybody?
Live, laugh, lesbian.
And this
I don't like the word laugh, so if you could take that part out.
It makes me uncomfortable.
and this whole story and most of the media around it is all about Target's reaction and what they're doing to basically accommodate people who are being assholes. I want to hear, what is Target doing to the people that came in and messed up those stands? What are they doing to the people who made the actual threats? What are they doing to the people who are actually doing something wrong instead of just bowing to the objection and pushing us in the back? It is, if you buy your pride in the back of a store, it is not pride.
Well, okay, First off, I mean, I absolutely agree with everything you said. Target keeps all their men's clothing anyway. Sorry, I don't know the women's section, but they keep it all in the back anyway. You have to like walk through the store to get to the area. So I wasn't that offended when I found my cute little Pride tank top, which I was thin enough to wear back in the day. But I found that in the back of the store. That didn't offend me because it was with the rest of the men's clothing. But I absolutely see your point.
Would it if you knew it was in the front of the store first and then you had to go look for it in the back? Isn't that a little bit different?
Yes. And that's what I'm saying. I agree with you. But I'm less upset with Target because I believe that, and I'm wearing my Target red tonight, yay, I believe they're looking out for their employees' safety. But I'm more upset about the overall mob mentality picture that we are continuing to give in. We see it we see it in England, rating drag queen story.
Well, what is your point about that?
My point is we need to quit giving into the mob mentality. We need to stand up. We need to practice what we preach and protect our stores, support our stores, and protect our people at once.
I'm curious, all of your opinion. If Target next year very quietly said, you know, we're going to have a rainbow T-shirt, and we're going to have a flag, and we're going to have one other item, and that's what we do, and they quietly never say a single thing in 2024 except that's what they display, we're going to complain about that?
Yeah, because you don't go back.
The issue, do you all agree with that?
I'm on the fence. I don't know.
No, that if they take the trans apparel away, is that what
I'm talking about? They make the decision. You know, everything LGBT is a political issue, and
we don't want to be involved with that.
We don't even want to be involved in it. So next year, we're going to say, yeah, it's Pride Month, and we're going to have a couple of shirts. We're going to have a women's shirt, Live, Laugh, and Lesbian. And we're going to have a rainbow shirt, and we're going to have a flag, and we're going to have something else. We'll have 4 items that we're selling during Pride. And here is the shelf that we do that. Are we going to be happy with that?
Of course, we're going to be upset about that. And that's why I'm first giving props to Target for what they're doing. And knowing that this is only just a few
stores. But like John said, you can't give us all this and then take it back and then give me a rainbow pencil and a freaking ugly polo. No, you can't go back.
Okay.
But they're not removing any of the merchandise.
They are. They're removing the trans merchandise.
I thought it was that they're just moving it to the back of the section, but they're not taking them off the shelves.
The merchandise that is having the most negative interaction. The most right, and the issue is, I'm just asking you from the standpoint of let's understand, let's try. Now remember, I have an obligation at Queer News Tonight to give alternative point of views, so we don't all say the exact same thing. We are able to discuss, but in this situation, Target has made a commitment in the tens of millions of dollars. Maybe $100 million to be able to do this. And they're getting this reaction in some places around the country because of the way people are. And they follow the Bud Abbotts and the Ron DeSantises and the Million Moms and Moms for Liberty, and they believe them. And as a result, they are on the front line of fighting the battle. I'm just wondering, does it make any difference that they commit $100 million to this campaign and the LGBTQ community says, you know, we understand what's going on for you. So if in areas you have to accomplish this, we're still with you?
No. No, absolutely not. Because you're going to put out $100 million, but you're going to get $300 million back from us. So screw you. No, you can't give us crumbs when you already gave us a big ass plate to eat. You can't.
Okay.
So I would be mad at Target. Yes.
Do you all agree with that?
I don't agree with that.
Of course you don't.
I think that you need to be sensitive to the areas. For instance, if you were in a Hasidic community and you had a Target there and they had certain billboards that had women with, you know, different parts of their body showing, that is a bit offensive to them and they need to make their money or whatever, then
why can't that person go to another place to get their stuff then? Why can't they go somewhere else if that offends them?
Look, this is my point of view, that private business should be able to do things like that for their bottom line. And as long as they are, for the overall, are taking care of everybody and trying to move the needle forward in areas. Because I think that anytime you try to smack somebody in the face with an alternative opinion, whether it's religion or whether it's LGBT, right, whatever it is, if you come at this full speed and they come at full speed, it just creates drama and controversy. And I think helping to move the needle is better in those areas.
I don't think anybody is arguing their ability to do it. It is, do they deserve our support?
Yes,
They do it
100%.
when they scale it back. And
They're not scaling back the
Do
entire
they?
thing. Just
no,
They don't deserve
no.
it.
The $100 billion is very impressive, but if there's a return on in that investment and they're making profit off of it, I don't honor the investment.
And to production, I don't have a clock, so I can't tell where we're at. So let's look at the Disney example. This has turned into, I think, a valuable and constructive cultural conversation. Disney's chairman did not come out against Don't Say Gay because he said, I don't want Disney to be involved in the cultural political debate. We creamed Disney for
And he lost his job, no?
and lost
Right?
his
Okay.
job. Bob Iger comes in and comes out against DeSantis and the policy, and it's cost Disney probably $1 billion. Which side of this argument are we on? You're either with us business-wise or you're against us business-wise. Because the argument here at Target is we probably should have never gone in. We should have said, nope, we're not going to do anything because we can't win. What do you think about that?
It's a bad argument. Anticipate the problem. They watch the news. They live in this world. If they could have maybe started by smarter positioning, or they could have started with security or said, hey, gay organizations in these communities, we could maybe use a volunteer for you guys to stand out at them.
I think it goes back to the argument that you make all the time when it comes to rainbow capitalism. And you're saying, when are the gays or when is the community going to be happy with what is going on? There's always a complaint. There's always, well, they should have done this, so now I'm not going to shop at the place that's actually giving us more than any other business is giving us. So I do think that we should be, championing Target for what they're doing. And if you make your voice known about these other places, maybe they will change their mind on it, but
next week, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
last comment.
Okay, last comment. I was just going to say, but Disney, you say they've lost roughly $1 billion in revenue. They're taking it out of Florida. They were going to bring 2,000 jobs and close to $1 billion campus and put it in Florida. So they're taking that $1 billion that they lost and they're saying, no, Florida,
hell no.
You don't get to have it. I mean, if Minnesota tried something like this and Target stepped up because they're based in Minneapolis, and Target stood up, I would be all for them standing up for our rights. And I truly believe that they probably would.
Okay. All right.
Next, let's queer up business. Adidas faces backlash for ad containing non-binary models. A new stirring controversy began on the Adidas swimsuit advertising campaign for June Pride Month. Hundreds of posts with hashtag Adidas hates women went viral. Adidas has marketed and sold Pride Month merchandise previously also. However, this time, the issue is who the company chose to model the garment. The swimsuit with Love Unites printed on it is listed in the women's sportswear section of the Adidas website. But the two people modeling it present as gender non-binary, which is attracting criticism from many on social media. One of those speaking out is former NCAA women's swim star Riley Gain, who went to Twitter and said that the company could have at least labeled the swimsuit unisex, but they didn't, as they want to erase women. In reality, Adidas has 45 pages of women's clothing, and almost all of the 2,139 garments have models wearing them. Scrolling the pages, you'll know the company is neither erasing women nor drowning itself in so-called wokeness. There are thousands of clothing items for purchase on the site that isn't being modeled by gender non-binary persons. The one thing that I really like about this story, and I think that there is something to like, is when you hear the criticism back that they feel like women are being erased. I think it's important that we understand where that kind of feeling is coming from to be able to address it. I think it's totally wrong and it's completely stupid. But when we listen to those words, like what are in their hashtags, what are they coming at? And we've really got to listen. This is just, it's so sad to me that this is even a controversy.
I want to ask the same question that I asked before. If Adidas next year says, we're not going to be involved in any swimsuit like this, we're not going to take on trans, we're not going to take on non-binary, etc. What's our reaction to that? When the marketing decision-making of the economics of any corporate business structure says, this is too difficult, we're not going to do it.
I would move my business to a more supportive retailer for those specific products.
Like who?
Nike.
Reebok?
I don't know. Listen, I'm the only girl at the table, and here's the thing, okay? Women have been marginalized since the beginning of time. All right? We are the first ones marginalized. And here's the thing. Someone doesn't feel seen. Adidas, make sure that women feel seen. Apologize and keep it moving, and we're done. You're never going to make everybody happy. Right. Here's the thing. You're never going to make everybody happy. And the climate that we're in right now, that's why the TERFs are all up in arms when it comes to transgender. Because they're like, we're not being seen anymore. It's not that you're not being seen. It's just that the plate is full of a bunch of people not being seen. You know, and that's the reality of the world that we're living in right now. You shouldn't be mad at Adidas. It's true. Adidas has pages and pages of women's wear, and pages and pages of women's wear, and pages and pages of women's wear. You know, when the Adidas suits came out and they were all for the boys, they were like, no, we got to make one for the girls too. And they came out with a line of the Adidas jackets and you know, the suits for women as well. They made a mistake, okay? They should have put unisex. Riley, go have some sex, mommy. I don't know what's going on with you.
I want to ask you specifically that. She says all kinds of crazy things, by the way, in so many different areas.
Oh, does she? I've never heard of her before.
She sounds reasonable. The trans swimmer at Penn, she has just done a number on. But to her point, she sounds reasonable until she goes crazy. But to her point, which does sound reasonable, why couldn't Adidas just simply say this is a unisex swimsuit?
Maybe it was an oversight.
Well, because unisex is either or, and they're not trying to address
non-binary isn't even. That's also a point, and that's the thing. If they would have put unisex, a non-binary person would have said that's not right.
Or just any gender.
How? I'm curious. I hear you loud and clear, of course.
I know you do.
But how does a business navigate the complexities of human beings first? We're a world full of Karens. Mm-hmm. How does a business navigate that, and how do you navigate LGBTQ plus?
By deciding your values ahead of time.
Yeah.
And having that aligned throughout the entire organization, where every employee, every vendor knows what that organization stands for. So when something like this comes up, they can say, look, we know that that's not in alignment with the other people's values, but if you know anything about our organization, it's in alignment with ours, and you just keep moving forward.
What you need to do is have consultants. You need to have LGBTQ plus consultants, part of all these organizations, and it will have to be LGBTQ plus consultants from each state that will be able to tell you what it really is going on being LGBTQ plus in these certain states.
We know several. Right in this state. Reach out to us.
Can I just ask the question? So the whole controversy is the label of unisex versus, what was it labeled?
It's the inclusion of non-binary models.
The inclusionary of non-binary models that offend women that say you're erasing us by showing this and representing it. And as Mark just points out in the story, there's hundreds to thousands of products sitting side by side with it that are embracing women, but that doesn't matter. We have to have it all.
Many of you know my opinions, that I think that this whole alphabet thing and labeling is ridiculous. So that's just me. I think that too much of this, I don't understand how any major retailer, I'm part of the community myself, and I can't keep up with all of the different labels and what they mean, because they mean something different to everybody. There is not a standard definition of what queer is. There isn't a standard definition of many of these labels when you talk about how many genders and all of that stuff. So I do think that it is really difficult for a retailer to be able to keep up with that.
I want to add one last question, because we do have to time-wise move.
Damn it, you're not going to let me eat him up? Damn it!
Do we decide, I'm curious to your opinion, DeSantis now officially running for president of the United States, do we decide as a community, LGBTQ plus and all of the different definitions that we're talking about, that we go, the bigger issue is him as opposed to our individual needs in our acronym? We're setting aside our very strong opinions on non-binary, how trans is represented, whether it's trans mass, trans women, whether it's a lesbian or a queer woman, are we able to suspend, to go, we're not going to continue to feed that machine, which is being used to try to convince other people in fear.
I don't think we're able to look at the bigger picture, Al. I don't think we're able to look at the bigger picture, because we're in such fear. Okay, again, marginalized women, right? Pushed around forever. We're afraid that if you put that off the table, it'll be forgotten forever.
Yeah.
Okay, and whatever positive steps that we've taken will be retracted and we'll go back.
And we go into a self-defense mode too, where every kind
What
of
about me? What about me?
is just holding on to its own safety. I hope that this event, like the We the People that's coming up on Sunday, I hope that
July
proves us
2nd.
wrong. July 2nd.
To Fay's point, are we willing to accept a Biden defeat, a DeSantis win, because he's able to make so many people afraid of the conversations that we're having here at the table? We're willing to accept, okay, we're going to hold on to this so strong, we're willing to accept DeSantis becoming president.
No, but I don't think we have to. I think that we can have the LGBTQ plus community, singular, LGBTQ plus communities. Yes, we're each our own smaller community, a minority within a minority, if you will, but we can have that. And I addressed that very issue in this week's SFGN that comes out tomorrow. Because I was at City Commission last night, and they were talking about, well, you're the ones banning drag. No, you're the ones banning drag. Well, the fact is DeSantis is the one banning drag. We need to unite in that and then defeat him.
Yeah. I'm fearful. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm fearful.
You should be.
And I'm fearful because I did last week the story about Aaron Parisi going to the top of Denali, and for me, a trans woman climbing the 7 summits and bringing a rainbow flag and a trans flag is such an incredibly beautiful story. By the way, she's at 9,000 feet right now and is going to, God willing, get to the top of Mount Denali right in the middle of Pride Month. I think it's a beautiful story. In my exuberance, I posted it in one of the principal masculine gay labeled Reddits, and it's had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of embracements, and overwhelmingly the things said about how dare you post this in a gay related Reddit, and basically to hell with trans, and they are destroying our world. I was shocked at the vehement hate.
Were you really shocked?
I was shocked, honestly. I've talked about it several times today. I was shocked because it's in our own community, and I know the enemy is not trans people. And I know for trans, gay people are not the enemy. And I know for gay men, lesbians are not the enemy. But it was shocking to me oh, wait, there's lots and lots of people that don't think that.
Yeah.
Governor DeSantis is our enemy. That's why I ask you these
Not
questions.
each other.
Yeah.
And that's what they want. They want us to be separated, and every single day we're doing exactly what they want us to do.
Exactly what they want to do, divide and conquer.
Not on this show.
No,
Yeah.
and not at SFGN. And speaking of which, here is a look at some of the top stories in this week's SFGN on Stands Tomorrow. This week in South Florida gay news, powered by Queer News Tonight. I'm SFGN senior reporter John Hayden. In this week's issue, Pride Fort Lauderdale is willing to take your money, but refuses to say where it's going, how it's being spent, or even who is running the organization. Mayor Dean Trentalis is telling me his hopes for the event and struggling organization. Also, summer is here, but new laws from Tallahassee are putting a chill on LGBTQ plus events on another Florida Pride event that cancels. And break out your sailor hats. Floatorama is battening down the hatches for Pride kickoff events. I'm John Hayden. Those stories and more in SFGN on Stands now and always updated online.
Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church right here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we're broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral's Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m.
That is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show.
If our community is important to you, then share this news with your friends and family. Are you, like most of America, part of our very large television audience watching this live LGBTQ plus news broadcast right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV?
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
Well, I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Fay What, John Hayden, TriniDaddy, and Mark Pettitt, we will see you daily at 8 p.m. And to our LGBTQ plus world, we wish you
Buenas noches.